Welcome back, dear friends. In today's video, I will show my games, my recent games from um, tournament in Netherlands, HC Open Tournament, and my fourth game against uh, young local Dutch player Arthur Winter. Let's go. We both had 3 points out of three, and we faced each other in round four. I had white pieces. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, short castle. Honestly speaking, I did not expect Rui Lopez and especially open variation much. If I'm not mistaken, my opponent didn't have any games, but he surprised me with knight takes e4 move. Yes, d4 is the main move, and here b5, bishop b3, d5. White is taking usually d takes e5, bishop e6, and white has many options like bishop e3, c3, knight bd2. My opponent surprised me with bishop e7. So I played rook e1, b5, and I went bishop b3. Of course, the main move is being rook e4, d5. White is taking knight e5, knight e5. Here I can recommend bishop b5, which is quite interesting option. Another move is rook e5, b takes c, and here white is choosing between queen e2, queen e1, or knight c3 options. Yes, but since my opponent didn't have any games in this line, and I thought he's most likely well prepared, I decided to just get a game. Bishop b3, d5, d takes c, d5 pawn is hanging, bishop e6. And of course, if we compare to the main um, with the main lines in open variation, we clearly see that white has committed rook on e1 and black has played and placed bishop on e7. Black usually has two ideas. One is being developing bishop on e7 and the other is being bishop uh, on c5. Very often rook e1 move is useful, but I think white is having more useful moves than placing rook on e1 so early. Yes, I played c3, short castle, and for example, here if white plays knight bd2, very standard and very logical move, knight c5. So black is attacking the bishop on b3, and if bishop c2, then d4 comes. Let's say c takes d, knight d4, knight d4, queen d4. White does not have anything. Yes. Another move is being here to go knight d4. Yes, knight takes d4, c takes d. And here, if I'm not mistaken, one of the options is to go knight d3 and after rook e3 to take on c1. And then very often black is playing a5, a4. That's why I started already playing my own. I played h3. Yes, and I did not play bishop c2 because of bishop g4 ideas. So that's why I started with h3 to prepare bishop c2, queen d7, and again, if let's say I go knight bd2, knight c5, bishop c2, d4. Despite white has achieved the same positions with extra tempo, I don't think white can really get anything um, significant. So that's why I played bishop c2. I'm preparing knight bd2, and here I think my opponent went wrong by playing rook a d8, and here black could go f5, let's say, or f6, just trying to open up f file, and black does not have any problems, and maybe black is just even slightly better. Yes, rook a d8, knight bd2, and here, of course, my opponent could take knight d2, where white is... yes, I was, honestly speaking, I thought my opponent wants to take on d2, and here doesn't matter how do I take. He wants to play d4. So my idea was to take queen d2 with different ideas to place the queen on f4, and let's say if d4, some rook d1. For example, d takes c, queen takes c3, queen d1, bishop d1, rook d1, king h2. And there I thought white is doing better, and otherwise pawn on d4 is hanging. So I was calculating all um, and this stuff, and my opponent went f5. Yes, which is a huge inaccuracy. It takes f, and it turns out that yes, if opponent takes on f6 with let's say bishop or rook, then black is just losing pawn on e4. With knight f6, then knight g5 comes, and now we clearly see that bishop on e6 does not have enough squares. Let's say bishop f5, and here bishop. If you take bishop f5, queen f5, and you go knight e6, here I guess knight e4 move is quite interesting, and I think this line works. For example, yes, if knight e4, then queen takes e6. If you go knight takes f8, then queen takes f2 is very unpleasant. Yes, but here white is having, of course, knight f3, or even knight f3 move is possible in this position. With bishop takes f5 and knight e6 ideas, position is quite unpleasant for black. But of course, the move my opponent played, knight takes d2, loses immediately. Of course, white is not taking on e7 because it allows knight takes f3, bishop h7, killing shot. Yes, black is forced to take on h7, otherwise I can simply take on d2. King takes h7, knight g5. And despite being two pieces down, white will very soon um, take some of them back, like bishop on e7 is hanging, another bishop on e6 is hanging, and obviously knight on b2, king g8, and queen h5. Of course, here I could start collecting the material like f takes c. Yes, queen h5. I decided um, to try mating my opponent's king. Yes, here always black has this knight f3 check. You cannot really take with the knight, and you cannot really take with the queen, but you have always g takes f. So rook takes f6, and here I was choosing between rook takes c6 and queen h7, king f8, rook takes c6. This I did not play this because mm, I think something like knight f3. Yes, because I started with rook e6. This only gives extra opportunities to white. Let's say if somehow queen e6, then always white can start with queen h7 check. Yes, here my opponent took rook e6, and after queen h7, king f8, queen h8, he got checkmated. And yes, the strongest would have been, let's say, knight f3, g takes f, queen takes e6. And now white is choosing between knight takes e6, rook e6, or queen h7, king f8, knight e6, rook e6. White is, of course, much better, close to winning. Still, some precise play is required, but I think if white finds few precise move, game will end very, very soon. Yes, I think the crucial mistake was when my opponent pushed f7, f5, and after he takes f6, he simply did not see that after knight d2, bishop h7 tactical idea comes, and with knight f6, then knight g5 was very unpleasant. Yes, I managed to win my fourth round game against 15 years old Arthur Winter from Netherlands. Thank you very much, and hope you liked this video.